I guess now, preach. I'm not going to read, stand there and read thing after verse after verse. I mean, I do have some for you guys, but this is something that I wrote at 2 o'clock in the morning. One Sunday morning, God woke me up and said, Johnny, you need to get up, get a pen and paper, and start writing. So I wrote 13 pages of something, and I never read it. I brought it to Mike, and he goes, have you read this? And I said, no. He said, let me have it. He read it, and he said, Johnny, this is good. He said, this is everything that we've been working on up until now. But I didn't know that this is what I was going to be preaching today. I already had it ready, but thank God that I listened. The 13 pages that I wrote, of course, God was showing me that there's a lot of us here who have held or are still holding on to grudges. How many have done that? Everybody. And it's one of the hardest things to do to get rid of and to forgive. But if we can't forgive and move past it, it controls you. It puts a ball and chain on your legs, and you can't move it forward. Never ever move forward.
That's true.
And the video that played in my head was we were all in Crossroads, and every Wednesday night was worship practice. And that night, I don't remember what it was, but it was something in my head clicked. And while I was driving home, I started bawling. I started crying and crying and crying, and I didn't know why. This makes me want to cry now. I got home, and Stacy saw my face, and she goes, baby, what's the matter? I said, I just need to go to my room. And she said, what is it? I said, just leave me alone. I went to my room and I started crying some more. So she came in there and she said, what's the matter, baby? And I said, I just realized that I hate my dad. And you gotta be honest, right?
Amen. Amen.
Ever since I was little, my dad, he beat me. And I never saw him. But when I did, it was that. That's all I remember my dad from, is him coming home from the field or something, my mom telling him something little that I did, but he beat the crap out of me. And I hate him for it. And it wasn't until I was 16 years old, and I hadn't seen my dad for like a month. And he had come home and he just started blah, 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 blah. He just kept on and on and on. He wouldn't shut up. Now, I saw myself in him. This is why I strive really hard not to be like my dad, but my dad started in on me, so I said, you know what, I'm gonna go to my room, and I shut the door. And my dad comes in later and he goes, hey, you need to come eat. I said, all right. I sat at the table and we started to eat and everything, and my dad, he started in on me again. So I said, Dad, I didn't come in here to hear you flap your gums. I said another word. I said, I came in here to eat. He said, well, you're gonna sit there and listen. So I put my fork down and I crossed my arms. He got up at the table, he punched me in the face so hard, I flew back. And I hit the microwave and he knocked me out. While I was on the floor, he kicked me, he stomped me, and he punched me. Okay, that's the grudge I held for such a long time. Okay, that's the story of that. I mean, ex-wives have done things to me. I forgave them right away, but this is something you just can't forget. And, okay, so this story happened Wednesday night. We were in church on Sunday, and my dad, he came up to me, and he had this crackle in his voice. And he said, son, he goes, I don't know what this is, but because I think God's telling me that I need to tell you that I love you.
Yeah.
Because I put it in God's hands then. And I said, Dad, when did this happen? He said, Wednesday night. And I told him. He sat down next to me and I said, Dad, Wednesday night I was telling Stacy how much I hated you for what you did to me. And He said, and I told him, I told God that I give it to you because I'm not supposed to feel this way. Being on the worship team and stuff, it's just like the Mercy Me song. I know the sorrow, I know the hurt, it would all go away if God would just say the word. So I gave it to him, and God, my dad hurt me. And I have a lot of anger, and I know some of you guys still hold on to grudges. You guys use it as ammunition. It could have been 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever it is, and then whenever you guys seize the opportunity, you throw it in that person's face, make them feel guilty in order for them to give you something, in order to gain something from it. That's not right. I told you the grudges, the resentment, and anger leads to unforgiveness. Now, a grudge is to give or allow something in a reluctant or unwilling way, to dislike or feel angry towards someone for something, to be unwilling to give or admit, give or allow reluctantly, or resentfully. Resentment is a feeling of indignant displeasure or persistent ill will at something regarded as wrong, an insult or injury. And then, of course, I defined indignant. It says feeling or showing anger because of something that is unfair or wrong, meaning you're very angry. And displeasure, of course, is a feeling of unhappiness or annoyance. Now, grudges started in the beginning, in Genesis. Matter of fact, Genesis 27 and 41. It's the story of Esau's anger. Now, Isaac and his wife, Rebecca, had twin kids, twin boys. And they are the foundation of our whole nation. Esau, of course, came first, so he was the oldest brother. And his anger stems from that one day, okay, back in, I believe it's chapter 25, it explains it because I had to read that. Esau, he loved to go out and hunt and fish, and he was a wilderness guy. And he was all rugged, he had hairy arms. That's what it was described. He had hair on his neck and everything, like my son Matthew. Okay, and then Jacob, he was a mama's boy. He liked to stay at home, and he had to cook, he liked to be indoors. So one day Esau came home, and he was hungry. He had already hunted and everything, and Esau goes, hey Jacob, why don't you give me some of that food that you made? And then Jacob said, well, give me your birthright. Give me your birthright. And a birthright is a blessing from a father, and he can only give one to the firstborn son. So Esau said, all right, yeah, go ahead, you can have it. So, all right. So he fed him. And then in chapter 27:41, I used the Holy Christian Standard Bible. It said, Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him. And Esau determined in his heart, the days of mourning for my father were approaching. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. Now, he never killed him, okay? What had happened was, later on, Isaac, he started going blind, and he couldn't see anymore. He just saw like shadows. And he said, he told Esau, he said, look, he goes, I'm going blind. He goes, I don't know how much longer I have, but I want you to go and hunt and bring me, your venison, your best meal, cook it up for me, and I'll eat it, and I will give you my blessing. So Rebecca heard this and told Jacob, hey, look, when your brother leaves, I want you to go and get some, I think it was lamb skin, and put it on your arms and around your neck, and go to your father so your father can bless you, give you the blessing. So, after Esau had been gone for a while, Jacob did just that. And he said, Father, he goes, I brought you, your food that you requested. So he said, wait a minute. He goes, it sounds like Jacob. He says, are you sure this is Esau? He says, I am. And he said, well, come closer. So he's touching his arms and everything. So he's all the hair and everything. He's like, okay. And you have Esau's texture and everything. He said, what? He said, okay. So he ended up giving him the blessing of the firstborn. Now, Esau held a grudge against his own brother, but technically, he didn't have the right because he gave him away. but still he held a grudge. And instead of killing him, his mama sent Jacob away so Esau couldn't kill him. Now, second one is Leviticus 19 and 18. And I use the New King James Version. Leviticus 19 and 18 says, "Do not seek revenge or bear a grudge against anyone among your people, but love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord." Right? And then we go to Mark 6 and 19. I use the Amplified version of this one, and I'll explain a little bit about this. Now, right here it says, "When Herod heard of it, he said, 'John, the one I beheaded, has been raised.' For Herod himself had given orders to arrest John and to chain him in prison on account of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, whom he had married." Now, what John had done, said John had been telling Herod, "It is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife." So Herodias held a grudge against him and wanted to kill him, but she couldn't, because Herod was in awe of John and was protecting him, knowing that he was a righteous and holy man. When Herod heard him, he would be very disturbed, yet he would hear him gladly. He felt convicted because he knew that what John was saying about him was true. And all John was doing was letting him know, "Hey, brother, you shouldn't be sleeping with your brother's wife. You shouldn't be married to her or anything like that, because it's your brother, and your brother's liable to do something about it." And he protected John the Baptist because he loved what John had to say. I mean, his little stories. He would sit there, well, from what I read, he would sit there on the other side of the bars and just listen to him every day. Just listen to him. I love what this man has to say. I know he's holy and righteous. I know I can't kill him, but he's going to die here. So I want to start with anger. It's the first one. It's a strong feeling of displeasure and usually of antagonism. Now, I'm going to go over 12 verses in the Bible on anger and resentment. We will learn how to forgive, hopefully, which means we free ourselves from the adversity that has been controlling us, all of our lives, this whole time. And I'm only going to list 5 ways that I felt were appropriate to overcome adversity, which is a difficult situation or condition, misfortune, injury, insult, or a tragedy. So number 1 is control your temper.
Yes.
We're going to go with the hard stuff first, right? Now, when people mistreat us through many different types of abuse, there's nothing we can do about it. We get angry. And then we hold a grudge. And we feel that we can never forgive. Right? Our first reaction is, in any situation, is to get angry. And the hurt or situation never goes away. It plays over and over in your head like your favorite movie. My favorite movie is Full Metal Jacket. Stacy hated watching it with me because I could recite the whole thing line for line. She said, "OMG, shut your face." It's pretty bad, but that's my favorite movie. I mean, I couldn't help to put this in because, I'm glad she didn't hold a grudge against me. She's like, every time I watch a movie, she's like, "Do you know the movie?" No? Okay, we'll watch it. Now, the Bible says that we are supposed to control our tempers, even in the face of unfairness. Let's go to Proverbs 19 and 11. And I use the Amplified version for this. "Good sense and discretion make a man slow to anger, and it is his honor and glory to overlook a transgression or an offense without seeking revenge, vengeance, or harboring resentment." So, slow to anger, quick listening, and slow to act, right? Now, let's go to James 1, 19 and 20. It says, "Understand this, my dear brothers and sisters, you must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Human anger does not produce the righteousness God desires." Now, if you think of it, the righteousness God desires. Now, that is not very easy to just let it slide or let it pass or anything like that. It means a lot. Now, when we overlook the wrongs or turn the other cheek, we treat others the way we want to be treated. But what if the wrong is something so huge, big, like mine, that we just cannot seem to get over it? For me, it took 25 years. Yeah, 25 years. And we still have choices. We can make it right. But if the wrong is something inhumane, like abuse, physical, verbal, mental, neglect, or even criminal, then you should do something. You don't just get angry. You take action or actions. Like ask for help from someone else who's been there and done that. You can go to a counselor, you can go to a pastor. If any of you have gone through something like that, I've gotten over it. Like it did take a long time though. I mean, and it is hard. But I was able to tell my dad to his face, I hate you. But after all of that, after he told me that God had spoke to him and told him that he just needed to come up to me and tell me that he loved me, I confessed to him and I told him I forgive him. And I love him. And it was like the biggest weight that had just been lifted off my shoulders. I mean, I felt so good. And every time I would worship after that, I was free. My mind, my heart, my soul, everything was free to worship as I was supposed to. And me not feeling right, it all went away. And anger is something that I know it's hard, but we have to get rid of it. And number 2, you can't let your anger control you. Now, God recognizes that sometimes we do get angry. Often we need to get angry to help a situation, to getting angry at somebody, or say you're going to fight somebody that's bigger than you. You got to get angry to get all pumped up and stuff, and I mean, probably get your butt whipped, but you're still going to put some licks in. You know, I mean, that's me. You know, if you're bigger than me, I'm going to stick and move because you're too big to chase after me. So I'm going to kick you, I'm going to run a circle around you, I'll kick you again, punch you in the nose, all that else. I mean, getting angry is like an adrenaline shot. You know, you just get that shot. Okay, let's fight now. Let's go. I'm ready. Now, I'm not talking about hero juice. Everybody knows what hero juice is. Tequila, vodka, that's hero juice. We learned about that in the Army a lot, in situations that, like skiing. Oh yes, I went skiing for the first time in Colorado Springs when I just came back from Germany, and I had never skied in my life. It's about hero juice. Well, anyways, I was on a double black diamond, and this Sergeant Meredith, he goes, Fordham, he goes, follow me. And I'm like, that's a double black diamond, dude. I'm supposed to be on the bunny slopes. He goes, here, drink some of this. He had a Boda bag full of just Jim Beam. So I drank the majority of it, and I did go down the double black diamond. I flew, landed, agony of defeat, and I stayed there until they came up with the snowmobile to drag my butt back down. That's hero juice for you. Okay. All right. All right, let's go to Psalms 4:4. And I read this in the New King James Version. It says, be angry, do not sin, meditate with your heart on your bed, and be still. So what God is saying is to think about your situation, see if it fits getting angry or that angry. And some of us think, well, yeah, heck yeah. It fits getting that angry. I mean, we have the right to be angry, to get angry, but is it wrong? Is it wrong to get angry? No. Being angry isn't a sin, but being controlled by anger is. Let's go to Psalm 37:8. This one I read in the Amplified. version, it says, cease from anger and abandon wrath. Do not fret. It leads only to evil.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow.
That's anger for you. The next one, Ephesians 4:26 and 27. It says, be angry at sin, at immorality, at injustice, at ungodly behavior, yet do not sin. So how can you be angry and do not sin? It says, do not let your anger cause you shame, nor allow it to last until the sun goes down. And do not give the devil, snaggletooth, an opportunity to lead you into sin by holding a grudge, or nurturing anger, or harboring resentment, or cultivating bitterness. Well, Mike, Danny have been preaching on all of this whole year. Anger, bitterness, getting rid of it. I mean, all that stuff. I mean, how do you stop being angry then? So what if you're angry? I mean, it's okay. You just don't let the sun go down while you're still angry. Stacy gets angry at me all the time. All the time. And she already knows. She prays about it in the bed. She's like, oh my God, Lord, please help my husband because I'm going to put my foot in his, and he made me mad. So she go to bed and God always tells me, honey, you need to tell Stacy that you're sorry, that you love her, and you'll try not to do it again. Is that how it goes? You try? I always try. I have anger issues because of PTSD and everything like that, but yeah, if I wouldn't have the wife that I have right now, I wouldn't be standing here preaching to you guys in the church with my lovely wife and lovely kids who's quite pretty. So what you have to do is you gotta find a way how to work out your anger. You gotta pray through it. You gotta pray through your anger, move past the anger before you give the devil a grip on your soul. I mean, that's basically what he does. You give him more control over your life, and he's going to turn your soul cold. Forgiveness is going to be so hard for you to be able to give out to anybody, and it can be for the smallest thing. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could have held so many grudges in the past, and just the one of my dad, the only one that comes to mind. The third thing, like I had mentioned before, you have to pray. You got to pray for yourself. You got to pray for the person who is making you angry. You got to pray for the situation, whatever that happened. And then you got to pray for your heart to be softened so that you can eventually forgive. But people can't change people, right?
All right.
Only God can change us. That's it. Once you put it in His hands, then He's going to bring peace out of it. And it's like He did for me. And it blew my mind. That's why it makes me cry every time I talk about it, because I didn't think God was listening anymore. I think that Satan was just going, look, you hate your dad, you hate your dad, you hate your dad. And God said, you know what, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. And finally when I did, He spoke to me, He spoke to my dad, and He brought peace out of it. And now I can talk about it. I mean, it still hurts me and everything to talk about it, but it's a beautiful testimony that I share with you about that. Right now, we all need to be changed. And the person who's hurt you needs to be changed also. I mean, you got to give yourself time. You got to focus on you for now. And you got to ask God to change you, to get rid of your anger, despite anything or whatever the situation was. Give it to God. He will take care of it for you. The next one, the verse that I have is Colossians 3:8. It says, but now rid yourselves completely of all these things: anger, rage, malice, slander, and obscene, abusive, filthy, vulgar language from your mouth. This is the Amplified. I like it. So, but now rid yourselves completely of all these things: anger, rage, malice, slander, and obscene, abusive, filthy, vulgar language from your mouth. And then we go to the next one is Colossians 3, same thing, 12 and 13. It says, therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you has a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you. In the Amplified Version, it says, so as God's own chosen people who are holy, set apart, sanctified for His purpose, and well-beloved by God Himself, put on a heart of compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience, which has the power to endure whatever injustice or unpleasantness comes with good temper, bearing graciously with one another and willingly forgiving each other if one has a cause for complaint against another. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, you should forgive. It says you are holy and beloved. Nice, isn't it? Don't you think you deserve better than what anger and resentment are doing to you? It's in a sense killing you, and it's hard. The next hard thing to do is to, what do you think it is? Forgive. Yes. I did say these weren't going to be easy, so pray that you can forgive the person who's making you angry or that has hurt you or even insulted you. Pray about it every day, every hour, every minute if you have to. You need to get rid of all of this in order to regain control of your life instead of snaggletooth himself. The next one that I had read was Ephesians 4, 31 and 32. It says, get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, brawling, and slander, along with every form of malice. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as Christ God forgave you. And then, of course, you've heard this one. This is doing to others as you would have them doing to you. Treat the person who's made you angry with the same tender-hearted kindness that you would your own kids. And forgiveness is really bad for one's soul. It's almost as if it is a poison. It poisons your soul. It affects every part of your life. And it manifests in sickness, in tension, and in anger. Luke 6, 35 through 37. I use the Holman Christian Study Bible in HCSB. This one says, but love your enemies, do what is good, and lend, expecting nothing in return. Then your reward will be great, and you will be sons of the Most High. For He is gracious to the ungrateful and evil. Be merciful, just as your Father is also merciful. We're not supposed to judge. Judge not, and you shall not be judged. This is 37, sorry. Condemn not, and you shall not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. We are required to give as the Father has forgiven us. It's not optional, and it does not come easily. Last but not least, the fifth thing that I had wrote down was love. Now, forgiveness is one thing, but loving is another thing entirely. Loving your enemy, the very person who's hurt you, is also required by Scripture Not suggested, required.
Amen.
The very thought makes you feel sick, don't it? It's like, oh my God, I gotta love this person. You don't want to act in a nutty way towards a person who's hurt you and make sure everything's okay and stuff. I mean, in a sense, you're keeping your enemy close so that when the time comes, you're gonna suck a punch. You're not supposed to. So, I know, I've said that you have to pray. You gotta pray for yourself, pray for the persons. I mean, some of us have more than one grudge. Oh my gosh. Yeah, some of us have 100,000 grudges. So you gotta pray 100,000 times for 100,000 people for 100,000 situations.
Amen.
And you gotta do it every day. 100,000, it has to take you all day. So yeah, so you're gonna be stuck in, what is it, fasting, prayer, meditation? Yeah. It's hard, but it's not impossible.
Yes. That is true.
Anything that you put in God's hands, and you give Him the reins, you give Him the steering wheel, you allow Him to have control of it. It might take a while. You might have to do a lot of praying, and you might sit there and say, Lord, how many more times do you want me to pray for this person? God's going to tell you, 100,000. And I mean, I have like others that grudges, but it didn't take me as long to forgive them. One was my first wife. I mean, she did something bad to me, and I came home from the war and found out that she was pregnant by some other dude, and I got on the next bus the next morning, and I said, I love you, goodbye. And that was it. That was the extent of my grudge. It was 8 hours. But, about 17 years. And then, of course, Matt's mom. I held a little grudge for 7 years with her because she put a restraining order on me, and I couldn't see my kids, talk to my kids, or anything like that for 7 years. And then, I mean, it was right on the 7-year mark. Matt calls and he says, "Hey, Dad." Like, "Hey, son." He goes, "It's my birthday and I want a bike." That's exactly what he said to me. Not, "Hi, Dad, how you doing? How you been the last 7 years? Long time no see, no talk to you." He's like, "Dad, it's gonna be my birthday and I want a bike. And it's gonna be, he told me it's gonna be $200. It was a BMX bike that he wanted because he was racing. And then after that, he wanted a motorcycle. But the year that she passed away, she came back from Colorado to pick up Matthew and Samantha. And I had them for like, it was a month. And Stacy got mad about it. But she asked me, she goes, "Can I talk to you?" And I said, "Yeah." So I went to the backyard. Stacy was thinking other things that she was trying to take me away from. It wasn't going to happen. But she asked me, she said, "I wasn't the best wife to you, and I wasn't the best mom." She said, "I was the only mom that I knew how to be." She said, "But I'm asking you to forgive me for what I did to you." And I told her, I said, "Mom, I said, I forgave you a long time ago." I said, "You need to ask God to forgive you." And she said, "Me and God got issues." And then she started some more stuff. And I said, "You know what, I wish that blank would just drop dead." And she did. I know God wasn't listening to that, but it hurt. And I said it, and I regretted it. You don't wish something like that on somebody, because it could happen. And you can't take it back. But that's what I said. I said, I wish that person would just drop dead. She did. And when I went to her funeral and I saw her in the casket, and I'm assuming that she's listening. I don't know. But I told her, I said, this is what I said about you. This is what I hoped for you to happen to you, and you're laying here in your casket. I'm sorry. And Yeah, that was another grudge that I told her that I had forgiven her and that she needed to forgive herself. And I knew that she was the best woman she could be and that she needed to ask God to forgive her. And I don't think she ever did. And it just hurts me that knowing that she may not be in a better place. You know, God took her first sister at a young age. She held that grudge. So ever since that hope died, she held a grudge against God. And God is the most forgiving person and the most merciful. He's the most lenient. I've done so much bad in my life. I mean, and I did like what Mike did. I didn't strip butt naked and lay on the floor and wail and ask for God for forgiveness and come to myself, but it was similar to that. I mean, I just broke down and cried for hours. And anything and everything that I could think of that I had done wrong to who I done wrong to, I asked God to forgive it. Anything that may have been bad that came out of my mouth, I asked Him to forgive it. And once God forgives you of something, He puts it in the deepest parts of the ocean where nobody else can get back up and throw it back in your face. And that is the one good thing about Him. So we need to practice more of what God does for us. If He puts something that you've done bad behind you, and He has forgiven you, you need to learn to forgive yourself for one. You need to learn to forgive others. And remember, I mean, loving your neighbor as you love yourself, it's going to be hard. But like it's in Scripture, and like I said, it's a requirement. I mean, there is no break, no in between. So, did everybody get anything out of this sermon? You know, this one was the hardest thing for me because I even tried. I was in there trying to talk the sermon, and I started crying. Then I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry." I didn't want to cry. Yes, I'm a big baby. All right. Heavenly Father, I thank you for giving me this opportunity once again to share my story with my fellow brothers and sisters about forgiveness and how long it took for me to forgive, and that it's okay to be angry, but that you just can't sin. We need to learn to forgive ourselves, Lord, and give everything to you. So I ask that each and every one of us just turn the other cheek, go to the person who has done wrong to us, and just tell them, you know what, I forgive you. I forgive you what you've done. You know, and sometimes we may not remember what we have done, but just let them know you're forgiven, and that I'm free from this. And Lord, just help us to understand our situations and make sure that we meditate that if it doesn't fit getting that angry, then don't get that angry. No more nitpicking. I need to learn that too myself. Stop nitpicking at the kids about one thing or another. So Lord, just help me to do that as well. And I hope that YouTube does serve this sermon well and touch all the brothers and sisters and the people out there who think that I haven't forgiven them, just to let them know on YouTube, I forgive you.